I don't know if you're out there yet. This is Dr. Jonathan with the Althea Center, and very excited to be doing this online and live with you. There is nothing that will stop our community from gathering in the spirit of oneness. So it is 10:26 where we are in Colorado, and wherever you're joining from, stay tuned. We'll get going in about 5 minutes. But if you're here, you're welcome to send hellos and shout outs as we go, although I won't be answering any questions myself until the very end. So if you're there, say hi. Because of my terrible vision, I'm going to have to lean forward to look at this. I don't see anyone saying hi. So let us know you're there. We're starting in about 5 minutes. All right. Hey, Rhett from Phoenix, we missed you. Hey, Nancy. It's so good to see your, I don't know, not you, but your presence. And Rhett, we've missed you in the community, but I'm glad you're in Phoenix, and can only hope you're healthy and happy. Who else is there? Hey, Jan. This is great. I'm actually seeing people that don't normally get to come to Althea on Sundays. Um, so welcome. This can be shared, of course. This live feed can be shared right now. Anybody who goes to the Althea Center Denver Facebook page will be able to tune in, and you can also share this with friends anywhere in the world. Tree, very good, Katie. Katie, you're on time. Katie, maybe we need to do this virtually every week. That might be better for some of you. Look at that, no parking, and you're still in your pajamas, I can tell. Who else is out there and wants to say hello? Of course, once we get rolling, I won't be chattering quite like this. I will focus on our meditation, our message, and then our questions and answers. There is a lot to cover today. Just extraordinary lessons and opportunities unfolding in the world right now on I guess what could only be called an epic scale. A lot of people are focusing on the loss and the suffering, and there's certainly we can't deny that there's a lot of that. Of course, physical health for many people is being tested, and financial endurance is being tested, but we are accelerating into a time of great global awakening. And if we do this together, if we stay connected, if we keep to our practice, our spiritual practice, this could be one of the most important times, arguably, in history. If you consider the rocky road we're on to social, environmental, and economic struggle. So let's make this a turning point. I'm excited that you're here. We're going to start in just a couple of minutes still. And if you need anything during the presentation, like a bathroom or some water. Oh, wait a second. We're not at Althea, so I don't need to give directions. You can go to your own bathroom, get your own darn water. But while you're checking in online, Susan, our general manager, will be moderating, and she'll be happy to help you if you have some technical question. I will be checking in with questions at the very end, but get yourself ready. I got my candle lit. I got my water. Water. This is water. What else do I have? Well, if only you could see what I have here. I got all my books. I'm going to share some books today. If you're on right now, I'm going to be reading from the selected poetry of Rainier Maria Rilke. I actually think that Rilke would be a brilliant companion for this month and whatever it is we are going to be facing on our own and together. This in particular is just filled with extraordinary reflections and contemplations that I couldn't possibly recommend anymore. So check it out. Another great Rilke book that you might consider for this month to read or reread is Letters to a Young Poet. Great, fantastic book. And despite all of our despair over our lives being consumed with the internet, we're going to be able to, I guess, download things on our Kindles and our Nooks and our screens. And I guess some people can order those things too. So this could be a really powerful month of reflection and growth. It's 10:31, and we're going to start in just a minute now. I'd love to get another shout out or two if you haven't. For the people that have checked in, glad to see you're there. And for the people that are just coming on, why don't you post a greeting and encourage the others that are here with us. All right. Well, we probably should be doing things on time since we can't blame snow or parking for this. So it's 10:31, 32. I'm Dr. Jonathan Ellerby, and welcome to the Althea Center Online. Now, I have done some TV in the past, and I've done a couple of online videos, although this is definitely new for me. Hopefully you like it, and if you do, we're going to keep it up. So the plan right now is that every Sunday until we're able to gather again, wherever you are in the world, you can join us at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time in the United States. I think that's about 4 p.m. Let's say if you're in Spain, I think it's about 2 p.m. if you're in London. I don't know. You can figure it out. Also, on Thursday at the Althea Center, we normally have something called Explorations. And Explorations is sort of a mini gathering as we deep dive into special topics. So, this Thursday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, we will be doing another gathering. And I will be here live, and we will be exploring some important tips and tools for staying well when you are shut in, or taking on the monastic life, as I would invite you to consider. I think that's probably what I need to say in terms of warm up. If you've never been to Althea before, we are a real community, a physical community of spiritual seekers and students and lovers of life who get together to explore the oneness of our creation and the oneness of spirit. So we're not really bound by any one tradition. The Althea Center emerged out of the divine science tradition and the extraordinary leadership of Nona Brooks and her sisters. However, we have blossomed to not only be rooted in that tradition, but to include with an open heart and mind all pathways that bring people into a lived experience of oneness and wholeness. There's a lot more to say, but I think that's enough. Why don't we take a breath and get centered together? I'm going to lead you now in a guided meditation. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, just follow the guidance. I'll be with you throughout the whole thing, and hopefully it'll be more than painless. It'll be good for you. All right, setting up my watch. Okay, so sitting comfortably but alert wherever you are. Straight spine if possible. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in, down into your belly. Breathing out through your mouth as long and fully and slowly as you can. At the end of that exhale, just a nice relaxed inhale in through the nose. Imagine it traveling down into the belly. That means you don't puff your shoulders up when you breathe in. And then hold it just a moment. Be aware, be intentional, And then breathing out as long and as fully as you can. Breathing out until you can't breathe out anymore. And then a gentle inhale. Taking time, staying with this practice in through the nose, down into the belly. Hold for a moment. And then a long, long extended exhale. Feel yourself softening, your body relaxing, your mind growing quiet and open. Feel your heart quiet and open. Moment by moment, leaning in, listening in for stillness and silence. Let any noises in the world around you, in your mind, in your room, on your street, let it all go, and just pay attention to the stillness and the silence inside you. Find that place that is untouched by the drama of the day. Find that place inside you so quiet, so inward, that it seems as far as you could possibly go, away from the busyness of life. And here, with our eyes closed, in the stillness, we begin to awaken and feel the truth. Here in this quiet place, we find the same sacred silence that is in absolutely every sentient being, every human, every creature. And right now, we are together. We are as close as we could possibly be, you and me and every single person watching this, re-watching this, when we enter the stillness, when we enter the silence. We return to the original field from which we come. And there is only one mind, one heart, one presence. In this way, we are reminded that we are never alone. In this moment, we are reminded that no matter what chaos or change or fear we may face in the world, we are greater than all that. There is something within us that will endure, that does transcend. And holds love and wisdom in every moment of our lives. In stillness and silence, the world does not collapse or close. We do not isolate. In our inner stillness, we awaken to the oneness of life. And we are grateful for the blessing that is this existence and its bittersweet beauty. And so with your next breath, imagine that you can find a love light inside you. Maybe it's in your heart, or maybe it's even somewhere deeper in your body where you feel this stillness. For a moment, let's imagine a healing light of spirit inside. And if you're not good at imagination, just do your best. Picture, create, feel, imagine a healing power inside you, love inside you, like a sphere of light, like a star. And take a moment and let it move through your body, first down into your hips and legs, into your feet. Imagine it mingling and merging with every cell, every fiber of your being, and then it moves up through your chest, shoulders, into your arms, hands, and fingertips, up through your neck, into your face and head, your whole body filled with light. Somehow, some way, healing everything, illness, injury, virus, whatever you carry that is not for your highest good. Imagine this beautiful light is dissolving it, releasing it. Like clouds, like vapors of love and light. Energy back to energy. Spirit back to spirit. And then, with the power of your mind, your intention, your imagination, feel the light moving out. It's radiating from your body. It's filling the space that you're in, your room, your home. Imagine this same light is filling your city. It's moving through empty schools. It's moving down roads. It's moving into the homes of other people where there is fear and struggle. It finds places where there is love and hope. It touches everyone and everything equally. It is like the air and more. This energy, this love, this light moves through everything. It is inside everything. And see it traveling around your country, across the oceans, down into the oceans, through the bodies of great whales, sea turtles, and tiny fish. See the light, feel the energy moving around the planet. Every country, every household, every person, every creature, every mountain, desert, field, farm, family, every being, everywhere held in this light. And it is not imagination. It is our truth. This is spirit, and we are one within. Now, holding this energy and this feeling, you can stay in a meditative way as we move into a prayer for the day. But if you like, of course, you can open your eyes or light your candle or smudge with the incense of sacred plants, sage or cedar, sweetgrass or copal, amber, frankincense, myrrh, all these beautiful gifts that have been given to us throughout time to cleanse and purify. We can light those now. I'm lighting my Palo Santo as we remember that in these days, especially if we're kept at home, that we can do this. We can take time to pray all day, every day. Sit down, light your candle, place your offerings, wash in the sacred smoke of your tradition. Today we might contemplate the Muslim tradition of prayer and meditation 5 times a day, 5 times a day to stop and invite spirit in, 5 times a day to humble ourselves in gratitude for grace, 5 times a day. Not on the fly, not while we're working, not while we're driving, but to truly stop and call and listen. And so we pray, each in our own way, but in this moment, together as one, divine Spirit, dear God, to the one that is all consciousness, life, existence. We are grateful for another day of life. We are grateful for the way we are blessed beyond our knowing. And though too many of us face fear and struggle right now, we set those things down and pray for a great awakening in ourselves, for our families, our friends, and our planet. Dear God, divine light, may we feel the oneness of all, our precious interconnection and responsibility for each other. May we embrace this with love and wisdom. May we open our hearts to see that we are each and all no different wherever we go. Despite skin color, politics, race, gender, we are all affected and infected the same way. We carry the same blood. We come from the same source. And so we pray for each other as we would pray for ourselves. A return to wholeness, absolute healing, the lifting of this virus, and the receipt, the engagement of its lessons, and all the good and beauty it has come to bring. May we quickly move beyond the ways it has brought suffering. May people be returned to normal lives. May businesses return to prosperity. May struggling families find abundance. May hospitals be at ease and leaders united in respect and regard for one another. May we not miss a single lesson here, dear God, so that we need not repeat such struggles again. Blessings, blessings for all beings everywhere, awakening to the light, held within love and sharing the wisdom that each one and all expresses through their most authentic life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. Well, hopefully you've been with me for a little while now, and this is how we're going to be doing our Sundays until further notice, maybe only one more or maybe many more, we don't know. So we'll start with a meditation and then move into prayer. If you haven't been with us before, Althea is a real place, um, in Denver, Colorado, 1400 William Street. If you actually want to stop by, we'd love to see you. But we're also hoping that people will join us from all over the world, because our mission and work is really not about us. Even though we have our own legacy and even though we have our own physical community, Althea is very much about awakening to the spirit of oneness in all, for all. And that means wherever you are in the world, if you are a spiritual seeker, if you believe in the spiritual path, if you hope to be awakening to the spirit of life in this life, then we're happy to do it together. And normally people who know me, they know that normally I like to start off with stories when I go into my messages. And I don't really have a story today, which is kind of unusual. Um, I have a poem that I'd like to read to start my message. And I also have, well, sort of a short story, but not really. So the poems that I'm going to read today, I have two, and I'm going to be reading from Rilke's selected poetry. And if you don't know Rainer Maria Rilke, well, if you're locked into your home or wherever you are, this is an amazing time to discover an amazing soul with incredible, powerful poems and teachings for the world. And I can only recommend that you take one morning, noon, and night. Sit with it, read it, take some time just to feel it and listen after you get the message. So let us start. Buddha in glory. Center of all centers, core of cores, almond self enclosed and growing sweet, all this universe to the furthest stars and beyond them is your flesh, your fruit. Now you feel how nothing clings to you. Your vast shell reaches into endless space, and there the rich, thick fluids rise and flow, illuminated in your infinite presence. A billion stars go spinning through the night, blazing high above your head, but in you is the presence that will be when all the stars are dead. And so when we face times like this, we are really confronted with our identity. Who is it that we each think and feel we are? For your identity is the root of your self-understanding, your logic, and the way you see and feel the world. And so if you're your body, and now your body is threatened, or you have a cold or flu or the coronavirus, is your identity challenged? Is your sense of well-being challenged? If you identify with your job, but you can't go to work anymore, is your identity challenged? If you're identified with safety, with control, with being able to do what you want when you want, and that is now being taken from you, what is the experience? And some might see this as a time of great pain and great struggle, but others, I have messages here from uh, Susan if we have any problems. So if I look down, don't worry, I'm not watching Netflix. So you can look at this time as a time of great struggle as things are being pulled away, or if you are beginning to remember that there is something inside you that wakes up, whether you have a job or not, whether you have control or not, whether you have total health or not, you can begin to return to the identity that endures all. Self as soul, self as spirit. In my experience, in my way of being, and certainly affirmed by the mystical traditions of the world, there is only one purpose in life, and that can never be taken from you. Nothing of ultimate importance has been taken from you in your life, and certainly not right now. And that is the purpose to come to this life, this earth, this body, this planet, to learn and to teach. Teaching for a soul means that it is not our business how other people experience us. It is not our business what they learn from us. The soul has its own way to teach, and others have their own need to learn. But that only occurs with grace and compassion and love and balance if we stay committed every day to what we're here to learn. Every day we ask the question, how is this showing me what it means to be fully alive? How does this show me what it means to love? How does this show me what it means to be connected? And as we explore the questions of life and learn day after day after day, then we move as souls, as teachers, from ones who might teach through pain or indirection or causing suffering to being those who teach through radiant example, through presence, through remembering. Sometimes I think that as we move along the path of life, as we learn more and more what it means to be fully human, as we fully embrace the purpose of a soul to learn, we move from this idea that has been conditioned into us that life is happening to us, that quarantine is happening to us, that politicians are happening to us. And we start to realize instead, wait, if everything is a learning, if everything can be a lesson, if everything can bring me to love and wisdom, then maybe these things are happening for me. And that is the path in which we move from identifying with externalities to the soul. We move into a soul-centered life. And we know that we, the thing that we call me, lives beyond this body and lives beyond this story. But as that unfolds, we see that that is not the end. That is not the goal. That is actually just a doorway to a deeper way of being. That through the pursuit of our authenticity, through our pursuit of learning, we discover that even those things can be released to something deeper. Even our own comfort can be released to something moving through us. We discover that we are an expression of spirit. We are an expression of life, just like the tree that might be outside your window, or the birds that still fly by, unknowing that our lives have changed. And so life moves from feeling like it's happening to us to the place where we realize it's happening for us, and eventually to the deep, abiding feeling that life is happening through us. We are a part of that which we seek. We are expressions of that which we seek. And so, on that note, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about 4 lessons today. Yes, I had to look at the screen to make sure I got 4 right. Um, and these are 4 lessons, you know, gifts from a worldwide pandemic. Next week, it'll be another 4 lessons. And when we close, I actually have a little daily checklist for you that we will go over quickly. But on Thursday, we will go in depth into, how to make your day-to-day life when quarantined or when life is dramatically reduced, healthy and vibrant and soulful. So to move into the 4 lessons of today, I'm reminded of a time when, not that long ago, actually, I think it was November, when I got the flu. And I have to say, I thought that I had had the flu recently in my life, but when I got it, I knew that I hadn't because it was incredible. I mean, it felt like being run over by a freight train again and again and again. I had body pain, I had fever. Um, uh, well, that's mostly what I remember. No energy. And so I quarantined myself in a little basement room that we have, and my family, lit candles, hoping that I would make it. And and of course, I had my phone with me and I was watching shows and getting messages from people at work and sending messages out. And one of the most common things that, of course, people say when you have a cold or a flu these days is, oh, this must be life telling you to slow down, right? This must be a process of change. This must be what you need right now. Do you ever get that? And you've said that too, probably. And for the most part, that feels right. Sometimes it's a little annoying to hear, especially if you have the stomach flu and you're on the toilet all night or you're vomiting at the side of your bed. No one really wants to hear, "Good job. It couldn't be better. Your body's just asking for what it needs." Like, that's not exactly what you want to hear when you're stuck in a hospital with an IV and a life-threatening condition like the coronavirus. On the other hand, when you're in a better moment, a better mood, a better space, there's something about that adage that maybe this is life's way of slowing you down. Maybe this is your body's way of asking for what it needs that kind of resonates as truthful for you. Like, yeah, this is giving me time to see how I live and whether I'm living consciously, intentionally. Maybe I'm not looking after myself as well as I could, or maybe I'm not looking after my responsibilities or the people or things I care about as well as I could. We start to realize that times of illness can actually bring us great gifts. Illness can be humbling. Illness can be a time of creativity. Illness can be a time of self-knowing and creativity. And so, if that's true for us as individuals, that illness, a virus, can be a time that actually connects us to what's most important, then isn't it possible that a collective illness, a pandemic, in which hundreds of thousands of people might carry the same virus, and that, yes, planetarily speaking, a handful will even die, isn't it possible that the lessons might be the same? That nature itself, that the very first raw expression of spirit on this planet, unfiltered, unmodified nature, could be bringing us collectively the same lesson: to slow down, to remember that we are not alone, to recognize that our lives have become too distracted, too busy, too full, too clouded with things that just don't matter. And more so, is it possible that this global condition is inviting us to remember how remarkably, literally, physically connected we all are? Of course, we can start with meditation. We can go to a silent place. We can affirm and feel that we are united in the very vibration of existence. But I believe that this COVID-19, regardless of whether you will ever have symptoms, regardless of whether you will ever actually be a home for it, it is calling millions upon millions, in fact, billions of people, more than half the planet together, to consider the same condition, to consider each other, to consider that we are all a part of this human family, and that this virus is as spirit, as nature, and does not see skin color or race or gender or politics or wealth or poverty. There is no preference here. And so it is with life. All love and wisdom are available to all of us equally, and all pain and all hurt will visit us all and everyone equally. So here we have our 4 lessons for this week. The first, and perhaps the most important for awakening your time ahead, especially if you're in quarantine, is to remember that too often in life we don't see what we're looking at. We see what we're looking through. We don't see what we're looking at. We see what we're looking through. So again and again, people have contacted me as a source of some support or inspiration, which might be crazy. And they talk about how people everywhere are in fear. But I don't see that. I mean, I see reasons to be careful and cautious. And yes, we're locked up at home. But I see opportunity. I see goodness. I see the power of a world coming together. I see truth being revealed, spiritual truth. To remember what matters most, to slow down, to stay connected and conscientious of how we connect. These are amazing things. For me, I feel the world growing quieter, less frenetic energy, less striving, less doing, more reflection, more quiet time, more boredom. And behind all of it, spirit waiting to be seen, to be felt. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that we are in a world where what we see and feel is a fact, that our way is the way, and that even spirituality, meaning, healing, love, wisdom, that we must somehow create those things, seek and find those things. But what the monastic traditions knew, those who willingly stayed in, ate less, walked with purpose, saw few people, what they knew was that the most important wisdom, love, and power in life is ever present if only we could see it by setting down all that gets in the way. And so whatever struggle you're having right now with what we are facing, remember this. We are ultimately only facing the same thing we always face, which is spirit, life. And our experience of it can be whatever we choose. I remember when we were little, my mom used to remind us of the great poem by Milton that teaches that the mind can make any place a heaven or a hell only by thinking it so. Today, we can set down all our filters, all our preferences, all our againstness, and simply witness, watch, feel, allow. Remember, too often we don't see what we're looking at. We see what we're looking through. The next of the lessons that I wanted to talk about today is the power of slowing down. Now that's almost cliche in today's world because when we're all up and running at full speed, slowing down sounds like a great thing to tell other people while we race about in our lives. But to be really physically and literally grounded, not traveling, not getting in the car and going to work, not able to go out to the parties or events or socializing that we most love, or just being busy, productive people, we discover that slowing down is actually one of the mechanisms of awakening. In fact, just as we move from seeing life as happening to us, through us, for us, and through us, to us, for us, and through us, so too is there a pace of life from busy to slow to stillness. And the closer we get to stillness, the closer we get to a place where life arises within us. Decisions come naturally. Love comes effortlessly. Peace waits, but you have to slow down to feel it. You don't have to make it happen. Just slow down and see what's there. The next of the four that I wanted to share today is to consider empathy. And when I say consider empathy, I really mean both words, which means empathy is to feel for others, in many ways based on what you felt yourself. But to consider empathy means to consciously, intentionally bring empathy to your consideration while you're sitting at home, while you're waiting for things to happen, when you're bored or impatient, when you don't know what's next, when you're in your own fear or frustration. Consider empathy. Because wherever you're at, if you're listening to this, there's probably someone who has a harder road. Someone without virtual community, someone without a spiritual perspective that helps to make sense of life. And as we think about empathy, those of us that are quarantined and feeling perfectly well might remember those who are losing loved ones to this illness, those who have actual physical fears of going out because it might cost them their life or extreme conditions of suffering. The empathy can move beyond that, for as we experience the limitations of movement, loss of income, uncertainty about what's next or what will be imposed on us, we might remember those refugees who seek a better life. When people come across borders risking life and limb, get into boats to cross oceans and seas to find a better way, and we, with the click of a button, can hide them, deny them. Today we might remember that they are running from something much worse than the coronavirus. They might be running from political persecution for their gender, for their religion, for being who they are. They might be seeking a better life. When you find that your economic situation is being dried up and pulled away, because your restaurant is closing or your shop has no clients or customers. We have a moment to remember in solidarity the billions of people who are scratching out a living every day, who are seeking economic opportunity every day, who would save every single penny they could find or earn if they were lucky enough to have even a month of income such as ours. And so considering empathy is a powerful and important opportunity as we go through this. And empathy doesn't mean that you don't have it hard right now. It doesn't mean that you aren't struggling, and it doesn't mean you won't face some truly critical moments. But it does mean that you can open your heart to others. And more than that, you can discover the next principle, the last of the four, which is that you are not alone. You might be listening to this physically alone in your apartment or your car or your house, but you are not alone. Not only are you not alone in your experience of this condition, as billions of people are in the exact same situation as you, but when we slow down, when we set down our filters and the busyness of the mind, we are able to feel presence, the presence of spirit, the presence of those that guide us, the presence of those that we love. You see, one of the amazing things about a time of quarantine is that if you look at it through the small mind, through the ego self, you will feel indignant that what you need and your comforts are being taken away. But if you look through the eye of the heart, if you feel through the spirit that you are, you will realize that you are being given an opportunity to engage in the most powerful and beautiful spiritual practice. For thousands of years, believe it or not, seekers of God and spirit have done exactly what now billions of people are being forced to do. Stay in, stay quiet, communicate purposefully with few, and feed not your fear, but the opening of heart to what might be around us. This is the contemplative life. This is the monastic life. This is the indigenous vision quest. And it has been brought to us by life itself, by nature, by our interconnection. It's extraordinary. In my life, and many of you have read some of my books, Return to the Sacred, Inspiration Deficit Disorder, The Promise of Paradise, and actually I'll be releasing a new one within about a month about spiritual experience. And what you'll find in all these books and stories is how much time and effort and energy I went to travel the world and create opportunities just like this, to sit in caves, to sit in circles, to pull myself out of society just to follow the ancient ways, the Buddhist traditions, the indigenous traditions, the Christian way of the Desert Fathers. All around the world, the great saints and sages have done what you are being invited to do right now, to simplify, to clarify, and to move through the fear of letting go. What will I be? What will happen if I don't get what makes me comfortable? You'll never know if you don't set it down and come into relationship with what is. And so again, the 4 lessons of the day, and in a moment we're going to be moving to questions. 1, remember, too often, especially if we struggle, we see what we're looking through, not what we're looking at. 2, slowing down is a pathway to spirit, from busy to slow to stillness. We invite awakening within. 3, consider empathy. And by consider, I mean contemplate empathy, think about empathy, feel empathy. What are others going through in the world? And how does this awareness of the suffering of others open you so that you realize that all pain and suffering, though we don't like it or want it, is perhaps the most extraordinary point of connection we have with our fellow human beings. And so we come to the fourth of the messages, the lessons for today, that you are never alone. No matter how lonely you feel, if you can look beyond the loneliness, if you can consider your connection to others, you will remember, you will feel the presence of life with you. When you are alone in the days to come, remember the word alone. ALLONE. You are all one. We are all one. And there could not be a better moment to dive deep into this meditation and contemplation. So, I'm going to be wrapping up. I do have a poem I'd like to share before we close, but I am going to take some time for questions. If anyone has any specific questions, I got my phone ready here, and our moderator, Susan Stites, is going to be checking through all your hellos and highs and questions and make sure I get any of the big ones. Don't forget, Althea survives every day and every month by donation. So look for donation links. We have them on Facebook, on our website. And please, please consider that we have a building to maintain. We have staff. Eventually, we're going to need to find a way to look after our musicians. All these things will struggle without our in-person Sunday services and your donations. So please consider that. Please be generous. I know that you yourself may have some struggle and deficit right now, but just consider the Althea community and that we want to be here for each other, for all of our physical community, and right now we want to reach out to the world and share these messages. So with that, I'm going to be checking for your questions. I see lots of thanks, thanks. Yes, of course, lots of other good lessons. People are reminding, go outside, get fresh air, find a nature space. While you're generating questions, the 6 daily quarantine steps to take for your checklist for well living while quarantined. I'm going to quickly review those, but we're going to, on Thursday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, we're going to go in depth into those. 1, get dressed. It's nice the first few days to be in your pajamas all day, but you know what? Get dressed. Dress nicely, dignify yourself, beautify yourself. You will feel the energy around yourself. Take this as an opportunity to clean. Clean your home, clean your space. Again, it's easy to treat this like a giant extended spring break. But remember, energy follows form. And so if you can create beauty, take this time to reorganize, to go through old files. Use this as a great time of spring cleaning and beautify your environment. You will feel the energy of that. Keep moving. Now, we can't go to the gym, but most of us can get outside and go for a walk. If you're physically able, go for a run. And at the very least, you can put on music and have a dance party every day. And dancing for 15 minutes is actually a recommended exercise by the National Council of Health. Get your heart rate up, get moving, play your favorite music. Dancing is definitely recommended as a quarantine coping tool. Communicate. Stay connected with friends and family. We're blessed to have the virtual world, and this might be the time in your life to write those letters to people who you've lost touch with. and people who you want to renew connection with. Um, Take this as a time for learning, right? Create a project. I mean, it could be learning about a country, a place, a culture, a language, and give yourself a little study time every day to dive into a topic that enriches you. Um, of course, I would say most importantly, cultivate a spiritual practice. So whether it's meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, Bible study, whatever, smudging, pipe ceremonies, whatever your religion or tradition is, take some time every single day, and I would say even twice a day, to take advantage of your time at home, take advantage of having less to do outside your home space, and connect to a spiritual practice. So we're going to go deeply into those on Thursday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Don't forget donations for Althea. I see lots of hellos and highs. I don't see a lot of questions. Here, some are coming in. Okay. So, one, I read that some country has decided that those over 80 will not be treated but left to die. At 73, that's a visceral thing. How do I apply? Well, I think that the challenge here is that this person is bringing up two questions. So one is, how do we respond to our own triggered self-fear and reaction? And two, how do we respond to injustice that we might see in the world? The first thing is to make sure that we separate those two because they aren't the same thing. So remember, what you're feeling can become a filter for what you're seeing. Now, if what you're feeling for yourself is sorrow and vulnerability because you can relate empathetically to those people that may be put in a position that you, where you are, can be looked after, but they, where they are, cannot be looked after, then I would say take time to be with that grief and solidarity. The reality is that every day of our lives, somewhere in the world, there are thousands, sometimes millions of people being treated unfairly. And so we must find first our way to feel through the rawness and the pain that arises, because awakening to oneness in spirit is not about being happy all the time. It's about having the freedom to feel our way through things and then discover what the lessons are on the other side. Now that's challenging because that means that there isn't a final answer to what to think. The invitation is to feel your way through the pain, anger, sense of injustice, and sit with it in stillness and find what the greater teaching is that's coming for you personally. Now, for some people, it's going to mean they're going to become an activist about something, and for other people, it's going to mean um, a humbling realization of the state of our world and the importance that you simply do everything you can to make the world around you a better place, and to consider that you yourself are making similar decisions by the way you spend your time and money to condemn others. So when we see these kinds of distance choices we don't agree with, the only thing we can do is find it first in ourselves. Listen to it in ourselves. Find compassion in ourselves. Feel it through and recognize that we are at some level no different than those. I would also remind you that at a growing rate, about half of what we're hearing out there about the coronavirus and what other people and countries are doing is not true. And so we have to remember there are people who like to exploit fear, who want attention, and so be careful that you don't jump to conclusions or believe everything you read. I know there's a lot in there, but that's a little bit to get started. The next one, how can I respond to my loved ones who aren't taking this seriously yet, or who are going the other direction and think this is all just a media thing, who think that we're all overreacting? I want to communicate with them, but in a loving way. Well, as with every moment of our lives, there are all kinds of people who we'd like to live differently and be differently. And the most important thing we can do is model our behavior. Now, this comes to the topic of interconnection and infection. We in our home, we're not really big on feeding fear. We do believe that maybe some aspects of this are being exaggerated, but the reality is pretty simple. Because we can't sort out for ourselves which aspects are exaggerated and which aspects are precisely true, then the only thing we can do if we have a compassion for the world is act with conservative care. And that means containing our lives and simplifying our lives so that we don't possibly promote the unnecessary suffering or even death of others. Now, again, it doesn't mean that some of what we hear isn't false, but if we know that most of it is true, then we have to make a decision from the heart to accept that in any moment of life, we're always going to be stuck with the reality that there's only so much we can do. And if staying home and restricting our time out or forbidding our kids from play dates and so on is the way we're going to do it, then that's the way we're going to do it. And and in reality, we might ask ourselves or invite a conversation with others, what is it you have to truly lose by honoring the possibility that staying in could be a greater service to the world? Unfortunately, most often in life, what stops us from doing what brings wellness and health to ourselves and others is the fear of being uncomfortable, the fear of being controlled or judged. And ironically, because we make decisions in reaction to control, judgment, and discomfort, most of us are making decisions every single day that put ourselves and others at risk. So when we have people in our lives that don't believe in the media, that don't respect some of the medical recommendations, then the only thing you can do is invite questions with love, have a conversation, model by your own example, and share without judgment why you're making the decisions that you're making. And little by little, people will have to do whatever it is they have to do. And in the end, there will never be a way to control everyone. And so working on accepting that reality could go a long way. Um, here's a great one. And Danny, a good buddy of mine, brought up something that I touched on briefly. What preparations for ceremony of self-reflection, like isolation, would be appropriate for people having the quarantine experience or need to be quarantined? So Danny really struck on this principle that I talked about earlier, that being in quarantine is very similar to the ancient traditions of spiritual contemplation. So in indigenous worlds, for example, across North America, the first people practice conscious quarantine. Now, in some traditions, like in the Lakota tradition, that could be, for example, 4 days without food or water or social contact in an isolated place. In other communities, such as some of the Cree and Ojibwe communities that I knew in Canada, the time was less constricted. But also similarly, as in Australia, food and water were allowed, but isolation was insisted. So this is, what Australians would call a walkabout. So you have the opportunity to make each day a sacred time of contemplation by framing the day as a dialogue with spirit. Start your day with an altar of some kind. So whether that's lighting, a smudge, a sacred incense, whether that's bringing out your Bible, whatever is your tradition, going to the root of your tradition, and then inviting your relationship to spirit to be alive and awake throughout the day. Be purposeful. Even set out an offering. Maybe you put a candle out. Maybe you put food out, rice, tobacco, whatever is your tradition. And then spend the day, no matter what you choose to do, consciously and intentionally returning to that attitude of listening and that will make your time of solitude a sacred time in which you have actually invited spirit in. So don't do this alone. Invite spirit in and continue to maintain and create your sacred container. Something beautiful to do to set that up also would be to frame your day at the beginning and end with sacred prayer or sacred song or reading from spiritual traditions. So thank you, Danny. That's a beautiful, beautiful question. Um, Absolutely. A few people have brought up, the fact that I haven't talked a lot about nature and being outside. On Thursday's class and next Sunday, I'll be talking a lot about that. But many, many people are able to at least go outside. Some people have to physically stay in their buildings, although can go to their little balconies. There's no question that vitamin D, fresh air, moving, connecting with the energy of life is absolutely powerful and healing. And if you have the opportunity, you can spend a lot of time outside if you're not putting other people at risk or putting yourself at risk. You can sit under a tree for hours. You can take a picnic and go to a park. As long as you're respectful of other people's space and safety, I can't think of a better place to be than in nature. Um, Also, here's a question. Well, so someone is just reminding us, Joyce T. Hi, Joyce. Joyce T is just reminding us there are so many things we can do to stay healthy and well. Of course, there's a lot of garbage on the internet. Uh, present company excluded, I hope. But there are lots of great healthy websites. I actually love Dr. Andrew Weil's website. I would recommend visiting that. There are a lot of other good websites where you can get simple, natural remedies to boost your immune system and still stay healthy and vital. If you have a favorite health teacher or guru, you can do those things. Again, I'm recommending that you dress for the day, keep your space clean, have some kind of exercise or movement every day to the best of your physical ability, stay in community and connection, have some kind of a learning project. That's important. Keep your mind engaged and active. Have a spiritual practice, or even considering, as Danny was talking about, making your days of exploration and learning. That means have a relationship with spirit to every day. And it's a good time to cultivate new habits, the habits that you can't put in place because you're always so busy. If you start making things routine and regular now, they will be harder to set down when life comes flowing back in. So this is a little bit like that metaphor where if you have a container, don't start with the little things and fill it with sand and then the pebbles and then the bigger rocks. This is your time to put in the container of your life the big things, the important things, the priorities, and then the next important things, those pebbles that fall in and around it, and finally the little things, those little details that may not be so important at all, and build your life around priorities and spirit. Um, we're kind of coming to the end of our time. Actually, it's funny because when we're live at Althea, we go from 10:30 in the morning on Sundays to 11:45. It's almost 11:45 here, so we're going to get ready to wrap up. Of course, you can view this again later. The Facebook Live videos actually are naturally saved and will go into a video library on our website. We are also going to clip them and put them up on YouTube. Um, and then on Thursday, we'll have another live event at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, also next Sunday, and then until we're able to meet again in person. Of course, please, if you can donate to Althea to help keep us going, this will be a pretty devastating for us. We barely pay our bills each month. Even though we have a great and growing community, we do have a lot of need. We have a big old building and a lot of growing needs to serve. So if you can make a donation from wherever you are, there are links on Facebook and our homepage. You're also welcome to check out things that I might be doing on my own website, jonathanellerby.com. And again, there are lots of other great things going on online, and I can only recommend that you take advantage of them. So, if there are any final questions, this is the moment. Oh, look. Hey, Marilyn. I remember you, Marilyn. There's Marilyn in Mexico. Any want to tell us who you are? That would be fun. I'm leaning in and looking. Da, 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 da. Lots of people sending love and blessings. We do have a growing number of people in our community that are offering help for people that are shut in. So younger people who are feeling particularly healthy and robust, you could certainly respond to our newsletter, and then Susan and I can help connect those people in need with those people that are able to be of service. Classes and workshops that I offer, will not be happening until further notice. However, if you have a non-Althea teacher that's offering a workshop at Althea, you should check in with them directly to see if they've decided to continue. So we are not controlling or forbidding our renters. Yes, someone here, Aaron, says write and send love letters. Our top 4 recommendations or lessons for the day. We see what we look through, not what we're looking at. Slow down. Consider empathy, and you're never alone. The 6 habits to build every day if you're in quarantine. Dress for the day, clean your space, move, and communicate. Aaron, I'm with you. I think we need to stay in dialogue and not just kind of gossipy chatter that sensationalizes our situation, but remembering loved ones. And I would say even taking time to write those letters to people who you've loved and lost, people who you want to make peace with and amends with. Hopefully this tragedy will put things in perspective, and we can put down our subtle and silly differences and reach out to one another with love. Of course, continue a spiritual practice every day, twice a day. Yoga, meditation, sacred study, whatever works for you. Checking out here. What else is on? Something about a number listed in the channel. I don't know what that is, but Susan probably does, and she'll work on that. Yes, we're going through the list. We're going through those 6 things on Thursday, and then when I get off this in just a couple of minutes, I will post all the lessons of the day. And as we come to an end, I'm just scrolling through. Well, I think that's probably good enough for now. The donation link has just been pinned again. And I did recommend that you check out the Coldplay video, Everyday Life. I was blown away not only by how much I personally felt connected to the images and messages, but I really think it's important that you feed yourself with inspiring energy and perspective. And I think that I mean, every time I watch that, it probably doesn't surprise those of you that know me, but it just brings me to tears. The heartache and the beauty in it all. And truly, I believe that this can be a great time of awakening for our world. Compassion, simplicity, perspective, and let's not lose this. Let's not miss this difficult situation so that we have to face more challenges ahead. This is a time of healing and awakening for all. So let us support each other. Let's help each other. And when we do these gatherings, I encourage you to come in volumes. Let's bring other people. Let's see and feel just how many of us are ready for life to move to the new paradigm, away from the paradigm of duality and masculine superiority and economic drive. Let's move to this new paradigm of oneness, this new worldview in which the feminine spirit of community, connection, compassion, serving others, not only self, can rise and be the way we make decisions, what we expect from our leaders, our healers, our teachers. This is a hard moment for many, but this could be an extraordinary awakening for all. So on that note, let's slow down And let's get ready to wrap up. I have a closing poem and prayer I'd like to offer. So if you like, we can do this with our eyes, or you can do this with your eyes closed. So take a deep breath in through the nose, down into the belly, and then breathing out long and slowly. Find the stillness again. Sense the quietness in the world. For this is not the lack of busyness, this is the fullness of life. Whenever you slow down and grow quiet, you will discover that our world is full. The presence of love and wisdom. Rilke wrote, "Now it is time that the gods came walking out of every lived-in things. Time that they came and knocked down every wall inside my house. New page. Only the wind from such a turning could be strong enough to toss the air as a shovel tosses dirt. O fresh turned field of breath, O God, gods, who used to come so often and are still asleep in the things around us, who serenely rise and at wells that we can only guess at. Splash icy water on your necks and face, and lightly add your restedness to what seems already filled to bursting, our full lives. Once again, let it be your morning, gods, spirits, angels, ancestors. We keep repeating, you alone are source. With you the world arises, and your dawn gleams on each crack and crevice of our failure. And so, with a breath from the heart, we surrender to Spirit. Dear life, to the sacred existence, dear God, the one that is all, we pray wholeness and peace for those who are suffering, speeded healing and health for those that are ill or injured, opening of hearts and minds everywhere to love and wisdom, to interconnection, to grace and goodness. Give us the strength and courage to embrace the beauty that is before us and within us. May we learn to be lovers of life, and when things are taken away from the essence of self, may we say, I let it go. I let it go with love. I let it go with forgiveness. I let it go with kindness, and open my eyes again to the presence of Spirit in all. Dear God, may be this is our time of great remembering. Peace for all, love for all, and the great coming together that we might be one family all over this planet with compassion and care for all beings everywhere. Amen. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you Thursday, 11 a.m. Denver Mountain Time. And next Sunday, if you need anything, you can post on our Facebook page or respond to our newsletter, and we'll be sending out uh, all the love and energy we can, as well as some updates and things to feed and nurture your soul. So take care of each other. Try to be respectful of the recommendations in your community, and let's protect each other. We'll get through this much faster that way. Love and blessings to each and everyone without exception. See you later.